Hi there guys, I'm going to show you guys a nice little bait demo today. We recently visited the Eastern Cape, and during a certain time of the year there's a lot of lesser sand sharks, little cob and other fish feeding on the sandbanks. And us guys from KZN that go down there, I think we overthink the baits that you need to catch these fish. So this is a very simple sardine bait that I'm going to show you guys that works really well for catching those lesser sand sharks, the cobbies, little blue rays and eagle rays that feed on those banks. It's a very simple bait to make. It's a nice smelly bait, and when you do tournament fishing and you're from KZN and go down to the Cape, this is a bait that's easy for you to make and go apply down there if you're not used to those conditions. Right, so it's just going to be 2 sardines I use, and it's going to be attached to our Berkeley Essential dingle dangle. Depending on the size of bait you want to make is the size of dingle you're going to use. I'm going to use quite a little short one because the lesser sand sharks have a very small little mouth and you don't want to go too big on your bait. So the first trick on this bait is a hair curler. Just grab your wife's hair curler, one that's not too rough and quite soft, and we want to attach a bit of this hair curler material onto our dingle, and the purpose of that is to hold the sardine onto our dingle. If you're going to place the sardine onto the dingle wire only, there's not enough space for your bait to hold onto something. It's going to slip off and you're not going to be able to do this bait so nicely. So a hair curler works very well. You cotton that onto your dingle and it can keep the bait nice and firm onto the dingle. Right, so I'm going to grab my scissor and just cut off 2 little strips of this hair curler. Right, so you're left with this little piece of hair curler. It's full of those little spiky plastic edges, and that'll help to hold your bait in place. So I'm just going to measure the length I want. Take my scissor and cut it to size. Alright, so we've cut it to size, and I'm just going to take my ghost cotton and cotton that onto the wire of our dingle. Just make sure you cotton on nice and firmly so it doesn't come loose when you actually cast the bait. Okay, so that's what you end up with. You've got your normal little Berkeley Essential dingle, and you've added this piece of hair curl on it. It's nice and spiky and got a lot of grip on it. Alright, so after you prepare your dingle, we can start with our little bait demo. So as I said, this is a very simple bait, but very effective. Sardine down in the Eastern Cape is a really big part of their bait that they use down there for general fishing. So this specific bait works very well for fish like I said, your lesser sand sharks, but even cob, little bull rays, eagle rays, and the odd diamond will eat this bait. So let me show you guys how we do the bait. Very simple. Grab our sardine, and I'm going to cut a few chops. Right, so we're going to grab our knife and I'm going to cut chops as big as my dingle and keep him on side. I don't like to cut them too thick because then it's difficult to work with them. So like 3 or 4 mils thick, it's easy to bend and fold around your little dingle. So I've got 4 or 5 chops. When I start building the bait, I'll see how many of them I do use. Okay, so you've got these little chops. They've all got a bit of the belly on it, and that belly flavor is very important in this specific bait. Right, so you grab your hook, you put it through your dingle. So we put our hook through our dingle, and that's how we'd get in position. So the next step is to take these little sardine chops and place them on the dingle one at a time. Make sure you keep your little eye clear where your sinker is going to clip onto the dingle, and you start cottoning this on. On my first little chop I put quite a lot of cotton, because you don't want that one to be too loose and your bait falls apart when you cast. So the first chop I put it on, I use quite a lot of cotton to make sure it's nice and firm on that piece of hair curler that we put on. So after we've done that one, we just keep on putting these little chops on. It's always important when you make these baits, while you're doing it, is to shape it with your finger, because it's quite a soft and mushy bait, and you still want it nice and aerodynamic for when you're casting. So I just shape it with my fingers and make sure I keep a rugby ball shape when it comes to this specific bait. As I said, this is a very smelly and messy bait, but that's exactly what you want for these lessers. I think we overthink these lesser baits often when we fish for them, and at the end of the day, for me personally, it's just all about smell and having a bait that chums in the water to attract them to your bait. Right, so that is sort of the average size bait you want to use. I said those little lesser sand sharks have a very small mouth, so you don't need to make a big, huge bait for them. So that's the bait done like that, but now I'm going to add something to this bait just to give it a bit more flavor. Right, so I'm going to take my knife and cut at the belly section of sardine. That's all I want, right up to the gill plates. Literally just pull that all out, and there's a lot of blood and flavor in that belly section. Take my chocker hammer. Alright, so we've smashed it, cuts a little bit. Take my knife, just place it on the bait, shape it a bit, and cotton that onto the bait. So this really doesn't have to be a very neat bait. This is all about smell and flavor. Just try and keep the shape nice and cylindric or rugby ball shape, so when you're casting it flush to the air nicely. And that's it. So do a few half hitches to finish it off. And there's our bait. A sardine belly bait, I'll call it, with cutlets. So there's our bait. Sardine cutlets on the inside with belly wrapped around it. As you can see, there's a lot of blood, a lot of flavor in this bait. And as I said, a very effective bait for the fish that feed on those banks down in the Eastern Cape area.